Seahawks and Patriots.
Seahawks defense has been just unstoppable.
It's over. We just won the Super Bowl.
They are bringing the Lombardis back to the Northwest.
That's a good way to start. Look back at some of the best games from 2025 that helped set the table as the 272-game 2026 schedule set to be released in full in just a couple hours. The season will begin on September 9th, a mere 118 days away for anyone counting. I am. It'll feature a record 9 international games. Yeah, Dan, let's get right to it. What's a non-divisional matchup that has you most excited?
Feels like the offseason just started. I am going. Thanksgiving slate kickoff is remarkable. The Packers and the Rams should be heavy favorites to win a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford coming off of the MVP season. And the Packers, does Micah Parsons, is this the moment when he starts to finally recover from the ACL injury? This is when, at a point in the season, teams try to really start to declare who they are and what their playoff run is going to be. I think this game is going to matter very much so for who the 1 seed could be in the NFC playoffs.
I don't know when this game is going to be played yet, but I'm intrigued by both of these squads. Neither one of them made the playoffs a year ago, and both quarterbacks are looking to come back with a fervor and show that they are the dude in the AFC. Burrow's been out, no postseason for 3 years. Mahomes, 1 year, coming back from the ACL. But I'm wondering if this game is late in the season, playoffs on the line, Bengals versus Chiefs. Once upon a time, just so recently ago, this was a big rivalry in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm going with the Detroit Lions against the Buffalo Bills. The big thing for Josh Allen last season is where are the weapons? We know Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. This is a big matchup. We saw the Detroit Lions have a bit of a regression after they lost both coordinators. For the Buffalo Bills, they have DJ Moore now. They have Skylar Bell that they got in the draft, as well as Khalil Shakir. With these weapons on the outside, they have a really good receiving core. So what will Josh Allen look like with a brand-new coaching staff and brand-new weapons on the outside?
So glad you're with us today. It's a big day here. We've got NFL Live, but then at 8 Eastern, we are coming your way on ESPN to release the NFL schedule in full for 2026. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Hawk, Peter, Dan, Kyle Brandt will join us. Adam Schefter is with us. We've got some great guests tonight, including Joe Buck, to talk through Monday Night Football. But let's get to some top scheduling stories as Adam Schefter does jump in here. What's up, Shefty? The week of Thanksgiving is shaping up to be an all-timer. What do we know at this point?
Well, it's a veritable feast right around Thanksgiving, and it gets underway the night before Thanksgiving, the first ever Wednesday night pre-Thanksgiving game between the Packers and the Rams. Figures to be a great matchup here between these two teams. And again, just the timing of it, kicking off what should be a huge Thanksgiving Day games leading into the next day of all that activity, which the first game that day will be the Chicago Bears once again at the Detroit Lions. It feels like the Bears play here almost every year. I think they played there the last 2 years. This will be the third straight year. The Bears are in Detroit on Thanksgiving Day. Caleb Williams gets another chance to try to win another game in Detroit as the Lions continue to try to stave off the surging Chicago Bears. And of course, then that game will be followed up by another Eagles-Cowboys game in Dallas. If anybody's looking for an excuse not to spend time with their family, this slate of games gives you the reason to do it, especially an Eagles-Cowboys matchup that'll be one of the higher-rated games of the season in Dallas. Thanksgiving Day, there are some major Thanksgiving Day matchups coming.
Yeah, that's already excellent, and we're still waiting on the 8 p.m. game and the Black Friday game, so it will get even better later on tonight, 8 p.m. again. That's when we find it all out. Thanks to Adam, you're with us for the rest of the time and tonight. Oh, my goodness, we got a turkey.
We got a
turkey.
We're there already. All right. May. We're doing gobbling turkeys?
This is a little weird. The Lions and Bears will play on Thanksgiving for the 21st time, with the Bears leading the Turkey Day series 11-9. Only the Lions and Packers have played more often on Thanksgiving, and Detroit won the last Thanksgiving matchup between these teams just 2 seasons ago after Chicago won the previous 3 from 2018 to 2021. Let's start on the Bears side of the ball, Dan. This is fun because we actually get to talk a little bit of ball that kind of matters in a while from now, right? What needs to happen for Caleb Williams to take the next step?
Well, the immediate thought is, can Chicago and Ben Johnson get him from those splashy and savior type of plays and being reliant on them, which are great and amazing, to a little bit more of the steady and surgical? I think that's the first place my thought goes to. But then, Hawk, Peter, Laura, I'm like, is that a need? You know, because I grew up in the era with this offense that, like, you do want that steady, you do want that surgical style of quarterback, but you also don't want these type of plays to go away.
No, that was...
And I think that's the challenge in Chicago is you definitely want more consistently the completion percentage, all that stuff. But I also don't want to make him a lesser player. I don't know what the exact balance for Chicago with that is going to be.
I hope it's not check down Caleb.
That's the last thing
what
you
I'm
want.
looking for.
But you need something.
He is the reason why they drafted him first overall was for the splash. 100%. He's got to bring up the. I look at year 3 for Caleb Williams. To your point, what's the next step? Because you go through it. Year 1 was almost like a write-off, and they got rid of the entire coaching staff and the offensive voices in his ear. And they tried number 2, and then Declan Doyle's not there anymore, who was a very key piece. Look at these 2 other quarterbacks who made this similar progression from year 1, year 2 to year number 3. I thought this was really good, and I asked Ben, our researcher / producer, to put this together. Josh Allen, year 1, 5-6, year 2, 10-6, year 3 was like, I'm here, number 2 in the MVP voting. Jalen Hurts, 1-3, then 8-7, then 14-1. We're going to the Super Bowl. Caleb Williams, very similar, 5-12, then a big bounce. We made the playoffs. We feel good. Is he going to be able to take them, the Chicago Bears, to that next step? Is he going to be in the MVP conversation? The sky is the limit, and I think that is the expectation.
I think the thing that stands out with those 2 players, though, is they chased the consistency.
Yes.
They did. Josh made the commitment to get more consistent. Jalen became one of the most improved passers of football I think I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Can Caleb take that kind of step?
Yeah, I think the same thing that was a beneficiary for Caleb and Ben Johnson is what the Detroit Lions are still searching for. Because when they lost Ben Johnson a year ago, that offense lost a lot of cohesion. It lost a lot of detail. It lost a lot of creativity that the Detroit Lions had thrived on. So now, with the new OC, Dan Campbell took over last year because they were having such issues. But now with the new OC and Drew Petzing, that's what they're looking for. So they'll go against this Bears team with the hope that they'll be able to show an offense that is not the regressive offense that we saw last year, but one that takes advantage of all the weapons that they have, from Goff to Amon-Ra to J-Mo to Gibbs to Pacheco in the lineup now. So I think that's the biggest thing for the Lions. Can they get back to that stature?
The offensive line for me. I mean, that was
revamped.
3 years ago. It was the unstoppable force. That's why Dan Campbell would go for it on 4th down all the time, because he could dominate the game. Who's going to be playing left tackle? Taylor Decker no longer there. They draft Blake Miller in the first round out of Clemson. Is he going to step in at right tackle? That's the big question mark. I agree with the offensive scheme for sure, but I don't care if it's Bill Walsh. If the offensive line doesn't get better, that team's not going to look like it had for the past 2 or 3 seasons before last year.
You know, yesterday on this show, Lewis and Booger were bringing up, Peter, that maybe this team lost its way even just from like the toughness and grittiness factor last year a little bit. Did you see that? I mean, this has been a team that's been kind of built in Dan Campbell. Right,
you know,
exactly.
Like, and last year it wasn't it was kind of like, So I look at Drew Petzing is so fascinating to me. This is a guy who is the Arizona Cardinals offensive coordinator. They interviewed Mike McDaniel. They interviewed Zach Robinson. They interviewed Mike Kafka. Like, they went with the big name interviews, and then they hired Drew Petzing, who is not a household name. I will tell you this. When Drew Petzing got hired by the Cardinals, everyone around the league was like, oh, well, that's the next guy. And he and Kyler are going to be great. The fall from grace wasn't necessarily because of Drew Petzing. Look what that offense was. It was no Kyler last year, and it was other players that weren't necessarily playing to their level. So before Lions fans just say, we threw in the towel on this hire, who's Drew Petzing? I don't even know that name. I would say give it a moment and see what this offense looks like early on in the season, because there could be a nice resurgence for that offense that took a step back last year.
Quickly, I mean, they really couldn't get Marvin Harrison Jr. going in the way that they wanted to. I'm not trying to make this about the Cardinals, but like
Trey McBride broke every record possible for a tight end, though, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And to your point, I mean, there's so many weapons in Detroit that Drew Petzing comes into probably the best situation of any new play caller, because there's literally talent all over the board.
The thing I would say about Detroit is they're just a very fascinating team to try to win in this window, because Jameer's going to get paid. They're going to have to pay Laporta at some point. Brian Branch. We'll see what they do with Jack Campbell. Jared Goff's going to want.
Would you say the window closed, Dan?
The window didn't close, but this is an important year for like this rebuild of Detroit to capitalize on some of those really early cheap draft picks.
And just back to the schedule piece of all of it, the Lions 1-4 on Thanksgiving under Dan Campbell. We'll see if they can change that record a little bit this year. We're just getting started.